Radio Woodstock 100.1. It's Acoustic Breakfast. I'm Ron Van Warmer. Don Flemons is going to be taking his trio to the Catskill Mountain Foundation up in Hunter Mountain this evening. And on the way up there, he stopped by the studio. They have crowded into the studio here this morning. Don't often get real musicians up performing this early, but graciously they have agreed to do it. We're going to start with some music from Don Flemons Trio here at Radio Woodstock.
Polly, put the kettle on, kettle on. Polly, put the kettle on. Boil a teacup, bread and butter's good enough for anybody. Bread and butter's good enough for me. Tell me, baby, what you trying to do? Trying to love me and some other man too. Polly, put the kettle on, kettle on. Polly, put the kettle on. Boil a teacup, bread and butter's good enough for anybody. Bread and butter's good enough for me. Tell me, baby, what you think? Let me go and get myself another drink. Polly, put the kettle on, kettle on. Polly, put the kettle on. Boil a teacup, bread and butter's good enough for anybody. Bread and butter's good enough for me. All right, go ahead, Brian. Tell me, baby, what you think? Let me go and get myself another drink. Polly, put the kettle on, kettle on. Polly, put the kettle on. Boil a teacup, bread and butter's good enough for anybody. Bread and butter's good enough for me. All right now, Polly.
Wow. Put a smile on my face this morning.
All right.
That was fabulous. You know, I've been watching a lot of your performances online, but seeing it live just blows everything out of the water.
All right. Well, I'm so glad you're enjoying it. I hope the folks in the radio land are enjoying that as well too.
Well, I think they had to. Don Flemons, and your trio. You've got your trio here with you this morning. You want to introduce them?
Sure thing. Yeah, I've on the fiddle had Brian Farrow. He's also going to be playing bass on one of the numbers as well. And then I have Tariq Muhammad on the sticks, and then a little bit more of the percussion and drums as we go along.
It's very cool music that you're creating, and it's though it's traditional, it's also new, and what you've created is something really quite different from anything that came before it. And yet, when I listen to it, sometimes it almost sounds as though it sounds like the 78 RPMs that I heard, when I was a kid, and that sound. Does that influence the sound that you're making, the way the song was recorded?
Well, I wouldn't say how the song was recorded. I'd say how the song was played. One of the things that I've tried to do over the years is reinterpret a lot of older music that was recorded in the 1920s and 30s, and then going on till now. And instead of trying to treat it like a precious thing that needs to sound a certain way, I try to make it sound modern just as a modern interpreter and performer. Take that music right into the forefront, and then, but also trying to think of style and think of the different nuances that made the older music sound the way it does. Because I feel that in the post-digital revolution, there's a need to play these styles of music, just because a lot of subtlety has been lost with just other types of music. You know, things change, tastes change and whatnot, and I found it really important to be able to pull some of these old-time styles out.
And you've taken that and made it your style, which is really unique. Can you take any song and make it in your style? Could you? Any contemporary song or?
Oh yeah. I could do that with any type of song. Like, I don't know. You just had Van Morrison going on. I mean, you can do,
Don't wanna discuss it. Think it's time for change. You may get disgusted. Start thinking that I'm strange.
You know, you could take that style, and I could do I don't want to discuss it. Think it's time for change. You may get disgusted. Start thinking I'm strange. Then I go underground. I'll give you some heavy rest. I don't have to worry about what's worse and what's best. Oh, domino. Romeo, yeah. You know, I could
that's great.
Change the subtlety of it, because, you know, when you think about a lot of these old-time styles, it's the same way that someone like Jelly Roll Morton described jazz. It's not so much that it's a actual repertoire of songs as much as a style that you put on top of a song, and then you craft the song around that. And so I've taken those ideas and taken some of the other subtleties of like people like Alan Lomax's cantometric studies and things like that, and applied that to a lot of different music.
Uh-huh. Well, I'll tell you, I was talking recently to Dora Williams, who had on a recording on earlier today, about cover songs and how often I find that someone will take a song and cover it, and I sort of question what was the point. It wasn't any, there was nothing different. But when you do it, and because you write some of your own songs as well,
absolutely,
but you do a lot of what we would call covers, and they're not even near, what the original was in terms of you brought something new to it each time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the things I try to do when I decide to interpret a song is I first make sure that it's not a well-known song, a song that's, I make sure it's a deeper cut than the normal songs that people do. Like Sonny Boy Williamson the first, who originally did Polly Put the Kettle On. That's a song that's different for Sonny Boy Williamson. He was the first guy to record the song Good Morning Little Schoolgirl. And you'll find that most people just do that song, or
right.
Bluebird Blues or Decoration Blues. There's a certain set of songs that, 3 songs that people always do with Sonny Boy Williamson, and that's one of the things I try to do, is make sure that I grab some of the lesser-known ones, or ones that are kind of off to the side, because that also gives room for interpretation, too, because there's a need from the audience. If you pick a well-known song by an artist, unless you really take it to the limit, most times people are like, well,
it's a little sacrilegious.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you do like Georgia on My Mind, you're either doing Ray Charles's version, or you're, or what else are you doing? You know, and that's because the audience expects it to sound a certain way and to be performed a certain way, just because it's such a well-known number. But if you pick a song like "Ain't That Love" by Ray Charles, you can do a little bit something different with it, just because people don't know that song right off.
Sure. Will you do another one for us now?
Sure thing.
All right.
I'm going to do one solo here. You mentioned original numbers. This is a song I wrote in kind of the early 60s folk style. I was really influenced by Tom Paxton on this one here. And this is a song called Too Long I've Been Gone. This is a song about traveling. Don't need no cup of coffee in the morning. morning I can get up fine. I can get up fine. Delia is a pretty girl, but she ain't mine. But she ain't mine. Take a little trip to the station. I'm bound to go. I'm bound to go. When I'll see my lover again, I do not know. I do not know. Too long, too long I've been gone. 4 white walls and a worried mind, that's all I have. That's all. That's all. And when I need someone to talk to, I just say, hello wall. Too long, too long I've been gone. 4 winds blow the breeze, wipe my tears away. They say you're fine, you're fine. And when the world seems so far away, I've got nothing left except my mind. Too long, too long I've been gone. Too long, too long I've been gone.
Don Flemons. That was beautiful too. Thank you. When you are listening to music that you think you might want to sing, how far back have you gone historically in American music? And is it always American music?
Most of the time it's American music. In terms of me playing songs, I mean, in terms of listening, I mean, I listen to a whole bunch of different stuff. But, you know, at the same time, I don't feel obligated to have to play things, you know, like the weirder stuff that I might listen to. Like, you know, like I really love, like, I don't know, Chinese pipa music, for example, like that, and koto music, and you know. But I don't feel obligated to have to play that stuff.
Right.
I listen to a good variety of everything, but most of the time it's American music. A lot of it 20s and 30s, and then I'll get into big swaths of 50s, like rock and roll and R&B, country music like honky tonk. Then, like the singer-songwriters that I first started out with, Leonard Cohen, Bob Dylan, Van Morrison, Cat Stevens, you know, people like that.
And do you find that they still influence what you're doing now?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's the thing about timeless music is that it's always good. It's always as good as the first time it was made, because a lot of times the music that's a classic, usually you find out that there were things that came together to make it a classic record, and classics just don't fade away. You know, you listen to Little Richard, it sounds just as good as it did in 1955 when he first recorded it, or Chuck Berry, you know, but that's because they made it a great record, you know, and that's something, again, subtlety in the post-digital revolution. Now music's a commodity that people don't even take that seriously, and it's a thing that, you know, that's one of the things that music of the past has, is that it's comes from a place where people are saying we're making records so that they go out there and they mean something to people. Now it's like, well, you know, like, well, there's people still passionate about music, of course, and they make it, you know, you can't stop that, but the audience in some ways is kind of like kind of let go in terms of letting music be the soundtrack that they're willing to go out and do anything they can for, just because the choice of needing to go out and buy it isn't there. You know, like there's just a subtle difference between I went out and bought this record because I'm passionate about it, compared to I just downloaded this record to preview it just because I thought it'd be cool to have. You know, there's just this little subtle difference, and it, you know, it it sets the standards for what music can be, just slightly off kilter. You know,
I was wondering the other day to myself if music that I listened to when I was growing up, Bob Dylan, Elton John, Rod Stewart, those singers, if that sounds as old-fashioned to kids today as Frank Sinatra did to me when I was there, or if there is a difference, if it has changed.
Oh, I mean, I definitely would say so. Even for me growing up, I'll be 33 actually tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you so much. But, I even noticed in the past 10 years stuff like, even like I've mentioned Bob Dylan, Van Morrison. See, when I was growing up, those guys were still completely relevant figures that were on a stream of when they started out in the, in the 60s and the 70s moving forward. But now, see, younger kids, they don't, those guys aren't, those guys are just very old guys, It's like, even guys like who would be considered the younger part, like, I don't know, Jackson Brown
right.
or Elton John or people like that, or like, they're the younger part of that generation, but still they're like, they're getting up there. The Rolling Stones, they still have that slot as being the main rock and roll band of the 60s, but those guys are way up there. Not just slightly old.
They're in their 70s.
They're getting way up there. And so there's a lot of younger people who are listening to newer types of music that's coming out. A lot of stuff underground. Again, I mentioned the subtlety of, just a different music culture growing. Like, there's always good music getting out there, and people are listening to it. But it's just kind of interesting to see the way that the musical culture has changed. And I think, again, post-digital revolution, that's really brought another counterculture of music that I don't think anybody had really anticipated. But that's all has to do with the technology that's been out there and available to people.
Yeah. When I think about American music, I can't not think of Stephen Foster. Have you gone and have you revisited some of those songs?
Funny enough that you mentioned that. I was involved with a project with the Cincinnati Pops Orchestra out in Ohio, and I did the Old Folks at Home, and then an instrumental version, not a words version of the song "Ring Ring the Banjo," because the lyrics to that are not so appropriate now.
Right.
But
that's a problem with Stephen Foster.
Absolutely.
Really. Yeah.
Well, you get back to the early parts of American performance art, and you run into the Blackface Minstrel Show, and that's a very complex and very long history of American performance. But it was still, at the same time, the first time that we had really strong American vernacular songwriters compared to just classical.
My family moved to England when I was about 12 years old in the early 70s, and on television there was a minstrel show, still on television in 1971.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's the root of our American vernacular music, which is, again, it's a very hard history to have to face, but it's a theatrical style that stayed on. And then in England, it mixed with the music hall music and made its own version of it. So it's kind of a very complex and a long history where there's several different generations of things. I'm actually writing an article on for the Oxford American about the great gospel songwriter Thomas A. Dorsey. And when I searched into his story, I found that every single person that helped him along the way getting into the business happened to have links back to the earliest roots of black entertainment, which included what they called Georgia minstrels, which were the first blackface minstrel troops that came along. And so that makes a whole other case of, once you have white guys imitating black guys, then you have black guys imitating the white guys, imitating the black guys, because they knew that they could make a profit entertaining, and if they wanted to get in the business, they had to go with the tropes that were already in place, and so they learned those characters. And then there was even a movement of black entertainers that came along, like Noble Sissle and U.B. Blake, and they brought a new type of black musical, Broadway style musical, and they said they did away with the blackface. But that took 30, 40 years of entertainment to get that progress. So it's like, Thomas A. Dorsey has his own interesting story on top of the links that he has in his his own roots of the business.
Wow. Well, if we had another 12 hours, we could just continue this conversation. But you're going to be performing at the Catskill Mountain Foundation up in Hunter this evening. And I highly recommend that everyone get tickets for that this evening and go see you, because just the time you spent in here, haven't been this entertained for a very long time.
All right.
This is great. Will you do another song for us?
Absolutely. Now, this is the song that starts out the newest record I put out, Prospect Hill. This is a song kind of in the New Orleans jazz style, and this is one called Till the Seas Run Dry. And so if folks get a chance to check out the Music Maker Relief Foundation, which is a wonderful nonprofit organization I work with, they've put out my 3 solo records, and then they put out the first couple of records of the Carolina Chocolate Drops. My most recent album, Prospect Hill, I cover a lot of different styles, but this is one that I'm particularly proud of, Till the Seas Run Dry. You boys ready?
Yep.
All right, here we go.
Scapiti patupi, scapiti pati, badlari da ta ta pa ta ta da ta, scalari da da la ta 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 da. Oh yeah! Get you, baby, off my mind. Get away, I'm never gonna take you back. Not till the clock's run backwards and the seas run dry. You treated me like a fool and oh so cruel. But too late, baby, to try me one more time, yeah. Tonight you're gonna see a little bit of the trio. We got Tarek Muhammad on the drums. Yeah, man. Brian Farrow on the bass. Take 'em home.
Yeah, that's great. The Catskill Mountain Foundation in Hunter tonight is where Don Flemons Trio will be. Tickets for the 8 p.m. Show can be purchased online at catskillmtn.org or you can call the Catskill Mountain Foundation reservation line. That number is 518-263-2063. You can check it out online. As I say, CatskillMTN.org for directions. I highly recommend it. Thank you, guys, very, very much for coming in this morning.
Oh, no problem.
Getting up early. Musicians don't do that.
No, not often. we stayed up instead.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I suspected that. Well, thank you very much.
No problem.
We're going to come back with more Acoustic Breakfast in just a moment.